imagine this. Every January 1st, I deposit $8,760 into your bank account. There's only one rule. You can't save a single cent. At midnight on December 31st, whatever you didn't spend disappears. There's no rollovers, no refunds, no exceptions. Now pause for a moment. How carefully would you spend that money? What would you invest it in? What would you stop wasting it on? Now, replace dollars with hours, and that's your life. Every year, you receive 8,760 hours. And most of us have no idea where they go. I didn't always think about time this way. A few years ago, I was convinced I didn't have time to learn anything new. I was busy, productive, booked from morning to night. But intellectually, I was standing still. So I did something simple. I tracked where my time actually went for a week. The results were humbling. I wasn't lacking time, I was leaking it. Tiny fragments everywhere. 5 minutes here, 10 minutes there, 30 minutes mysteriously disappearing into what I can only describe as aggressive scrolling. At one point, I checked my phone's weekly screen report. You know, the one your phone politely sends you every Sunday. The one that feels less like a report and more like a performance review from your phone. Apparently, my phone thought that I was the employee of the week. And the worst part, I don't even remember applying for the job. Research shows the average person touches their phone more than 2,600 times a day. Many adults spend between 3 to 4 hours a day on their phone. That adds up to over 1,000 hours every year. 1,000 hours! That's the equivalent of 25 full work weeks. Now, I'm not here to shame phones. My phone helps me navigate cities, learn new things, and occasionally reminds me that I walked 22 steps today, which is impressive, considering most of them were between the couch and the refrigerator. But small moments add up, and those moments quietly compete with something incredibly important. Learning. We live in an age obsessed with learning. We talk about upskilling, reskilling, micro-credentials, lifelong learning. The World Economic Forum estimates that half of all workers will need significant reskilling by the year 2030, and yet participation in structured learning drops sharply after formal education ends. Now, not because adults can't learn, but because learning quietly loses the competition for time. Most adults cannot tell you how many hours they spend learning each year. When they do their deepest thinking, why learning goals are often postponed. Here's the truth we try to avoid. Learning usually doesn't fail because we lack motivation. It fails because we are time illiterate. Here's the moment that changed how I think about learning, and here is why this is important to you. Every idea you will ever have, every skill you will ever learn, every opportunity that will shape your future is purchased with the same currency: hours Not talent, not intelligence, not access. Time. When we don't see our time clearly, it quietly disappears into defaults. But when we learn to see it, those same hours become our most powerful tool for growth we have. Because every year you are given 8,760 opportunities to decide who you are becoming. Time literacy means learning to see your time clearly, protect it on purpose, and make sure you use it intentionally. Awareness makes the invisible visible. Most of us remember the highlights of our week, but we forget the drift, the meeting that ran long, the scroll that became 20 minutes, the article we meant to read later. The next step is allocation. Allocation asks a different question. What is this hour for? Many adults budget money carefully, but time, the asset learning depends on, is often left unassigned. And unassigned time doesn't stay free. It gets spent by urgency, by other people's priorities, by whatever notification buzzes first. Allocation asks a different question. What is this hour for? Learning that sticks requires protected time, not leftover time. Even scheduled time can be stolen. The average knowledge worker is interrupted every few moments, and it can take up to 20 minutes to fully regain focus. Autonomy is the ability to defend your attention, turning off non-essential notifications, creating cues for focus, saying no by default, and yes intentionally. Because intention is the gateway to learning. Here's the reframe that changes everything. Lifelong learning doesn't happen in dramatic breakthroughs. It happens in small units of time. 10 minutes, 15 minutes, half an hour. 10 minutes of reading a day equals 60 hours a year. 15 minutes of practice daily equals 91 hours a year. A single half hour a week equals 26 hours a year. We dismiss small windows as not enough time. But learning doesn't grow in semesters, it grows in margins. The tiny spaces in between appointments, the overlooked opportunities between obligations, the pockets of time we assume are too small to matter. But margins compound. And over a year, those margins can become dozens or even hundreds of learning hours. Let's calculate the year. On average, we sleep between 2,500 and 3,000 hours a year. We work between 1,800 and 2,200 hours a year. Commuting can even be between 100 to 300 hours, and screens and entertainment, 1,000 plus hours. Then there's drift time, the in-between, scrolling, waiting, mental fog. That drift alone can add up to 500 to 1,000 hours every year. That's not a time shortage, it's a visibility problem. And if you've ever opened your phone to send one text and resurfaced 45 minutes later watching a video about how penguins propose to each other? And you understand exactly what I mean. When time goes unmanaged, we accumulate time debt. In learning, time debt looks like cramming, abandoned courses, surface level understanding, the belief that learning can wait. But learning doesn't operate on credit. Consistency builds knowledge, delay compounds gaps. Time debt equals learning debt. Here's an invitation. Write down this number, 8,760. Then ask yourself 3 questions. What 3 learning investments matter this year? How many hours will they require? Where will those hours come from? When we assign time the way we assign money, it becomes tangible, and when it becomes tangible, it becomes intentional. Let me leave you with this. This year, you will receive 8,760 hours. Not 1 minute more, not 1 minute less. The question is not whether you have time to grow. The question is who or what is already spending it for you. Your hours will be spent, either by intention or by default. So choose deliberately, choose curiously, choose growth. Because learning doesn't live in someday, it lives in the margins of your days. And here's the truth I hope you remember. Your life is not built in the big moments you plan. It is built in the small hours you choose. So guard them, invest them, learn within them, because the most powerful investment you will ever make is not money, but it's how you choose to spend the hours of your